So in solving equations part 1, we were undoing the dastardly deeds of evil math geniuses. Now we are further undoing the dastardly deeds of evil math geniuses. Because Jacques is not happy at how well you guys conquered the first section of this, so now he wants to do things to make them even harder. What a guy. Okay, speaking of Jacques, yes, I am so frustrated. This is just ridiculous. So I must make the problems even harder, they say. Okay, well, I think I know what I can do. Let's start by adding 4 to both sides. That gives me x plus 4 equals 2. But then I'm going to multiply both sides by 16. So that gives me 16 times x plus 4 equals 2 times 16, which is 32. Good, good, good. Now there's the possibility of distribution, and that always throws them off. Or at least I think it does. Number 2. Very similar idea, but this time I'll subtract 3 from both sides. Because I know for some reason when it's equal to 0, that throws them off. So now I will multiply both sides by negative 4. Now, of course, 0 times negative 4 is 0. So we have 2 questions that could imply the distributive property. On this one I added 4, then multiplied by 16. This one I subtracted 3 and multiplied by negative 4. So let's see how they do with these. Okay, let's see if we can undo what Jacques has done. So you remember yesterday we talked about the fact that variables want to be by themselves. We have solved an equation when we're back to where we started and the variable is all by itself. If you wanted to distribute these, you can. It's not wrong to distribute the 16 and then solve for x. Or on this one, it's not wrong to distribute the negative 4 and solve for x. But just so we're kind of having that back and forth of doing things the reverse way that Jacques did it, I'm going to, instead of distributing, I'm going to do the opposite of what he did and divide both sides by 16. That gives me x plus 4 equals 2. So the 4 is being added to the x, so we need to subtract it. So we'll subtract 4 from both sides, and we get the answer, which is x equals negative 2. So we did the opposite of his multiplying by 16 by dividing, did the opposite of his adding 4 by subtracting 4. So we'll do a similar thing over here. The last thing he did was multiply by negative 4, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. That's 0. 0 divided by any number other than 0 is 0. So we divided by negative 4. Now to get x by itself, we need to add 3 to both sides. So I get x equals 3, which is the correct answer. Again, you can see kind of the reverse symmetry of a kind, where they go like that. Okay, I wonder what Jacques will be up to next. Let's see. All right. What will I do now? Okay. I think I know. Yes, I think I know. Okay. I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1. So I multiply both sides by negative 1. That gives me negative y equals negative 6. Now I'm going to add 13 to both sides. And because I like to shake things up, I'm going to put the 13 first on this side and write it as 13 minus y, and negative 16 plus 13, which is 7. This may look simple, but I know this area right here may confuse many. So we'll do something similar over here. We'll multiply both sides by -4. That gives us -4w equals 28. And then I will add, let's add 6 to both sides. And again, just to be tricky, I put the 6 first and make it 6 minus 4w. 28 plus 6 is 34. Very good. Now, let's see what those little animals can do now. Ooh, okay. These look basic. They look like they're simpler than the other ones, but let's see what happens. So he multiplied by -1 and then added 13. So we'll start by subtracting 13. So here's one reason this tricks people a lot. They see the 13 and they see the minus sign, so they think they're supposed to add 13. But if you do 13 plus 13, that's 26. It doesn't cancel it out to the 0 like we want it to. So you don't look at what's behind the number to the right of the number. You look what's in front of the number, which you might say, well, but there's nothing there. True, which means it's not a -13, it has to be a positive 13. Because we don't signal that a number is positive, but we always signal if a number is negative. So this is a positive 13, so we subtract 13 from both sides. 13 minus 13 is 0. 0 minus y is -y. So that's another place people make mistakes. Once the 13 disappears, they tend to forget to keep that minus sign as a negative for the y. 7 minus 13 is -6. Okay, you also are not allowed to stop here. The equation is solved if you have a negative in front of the variable. It has to be a positive variable to be answered. So this is where you might remember that there's an understood 1 in front of variables without a coefficient. Then you can see it's -1 times y, so we divide both sides by -1 to get rid of that. Because -1 divided by -1 is +1. -6 divided by -1 is +6. So once again, we were able to solve the problem by doing exactly the opposite of what he did. Okay, this one will be similar. He multiplied by -4 and then added 6 to both sides. So we will subtract 6 from both sides. Same thing as before. You look at what's in front. This is a +6, so I subtract 6. That leaves -4w equals 28. Then we have to get rid of the coefficient in front of the w, so we divide by -4 and get w equals -7, which is where we started. I'm nearing my end here. I don't know how I can make these type of problems. Wait, I do know. Yes, brilliant. Of course it's brilliant. It's coming from me. I will begin this problem by multiplying by 5 on both sides. That gives me 5h equals -20. Then I will add 8 to both sides. 5h plus 8 is equal to -12. Now here's where I make things fun. As you may have heard, people think I have too many x's in my life. It's all of the x's that are causing me pain and grief. No one wants to have lots of x's. So I will do to this problem what my x's do to me. Split up. I will split pieces because 5h is one term with an h, but why not turn it into 2? Make it 3h plus 2h. Why just have one constant on this side when I could have 2? -12 could also be written as 2 minus 14. Ha! So I have multiplied by 5, added 8, and then split things up. That will do it. Whew, okay. So one thing I have told you guys before is before you try to move things from one side to the other, you should look at each side individually. and say, are there any like terms? And there are, 3h and 2h. You add those two together, you get 5h. Same over here, there's two constants, 2 minus 14, which is negative 12. So we fixed his splitting by combining like terms. Then it looks pretty basic. We subtract 8 from both sides. And we divide 5 from both sides. So you can see the parallels again are kind of the reverse parallels. Splitting and combining, plus 8, minus 8, times 5, and divided by 5. Drat! They foiled me yet again! I only have the energy to do one more. But I will take one more step to foil them. I will multiply both sides by negative 3. Then I will add 17 to both sides. Now I will repeat what I did last time and do what my x did to me and split things up. So a way I can rewrite negative 3x is 7x minus 10x. Because that is the same thing. 7 minus 10 is negative 3, so that will work fine. But I'm not going to stop there. Not only have I multiplied both sides by negative 3, added 17, and split things up, I'm going to split and separate. I'm going to move the 10x over to the other side of the equation so that now they have a problem they have to solve when there are variables on both sides of the equations. Excuse me. Okay, this is our last go. We got this, guys. If there are variables on both sides, I recommend that the first step you take is combine the two variables. That's helping us kind of do the opposite of what he did anyway. He split and separate them, so we'll combine them back. So you can choose. It's fine to subtract 7x from both sides or subtract 10x from both sides. Just to make it look more like the reverse of his process, I'm going to subtract 10x. 7x minus 10x is negative 3x. And that leaves negative 48. Oh, sorry, this should be 43. I don't know when that changed. Apparently, Jacques made a mistake. He would. Okay, or maybe that was me. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So combine. So we got split and separate fixed by combining. Now we'll subtract 17 from both sides. So we subtracted 17 as a parallel to adding 17. Our last step is to divide by negative 3. So that gives us the answer, x equals 20. So we have survived our first and maybe our only encounter with Jacques. We'll have to see if he ever chooses to return.